Hi guys, I'm about to show you a clip, but I don't know how best to describe it. Is it ironic? Is it gaslighting? Is it blatant hypocrisy or something else? So as we know, there's a huge housing crisis where millions of young people are not just struggling to get on the property ladder, but many have given up completely on the idea of owning their own home. They face a future of renting right up to retirement, if retirement still is a thing in the future. Simon Clarke, a former Tory MP, now works for a right-wing think tank called OnWard UK, which is linked to the Conservative Party. Now Simon here points out a huge problem with housing, but believes that the Tories have a solution. You couldn't make it up.
Here in London, we're at the heart of one of the most developed and economically successful cities on the planet. I'm here to look at what £1,000 a month in rent buys a young professional. And the answer, in terms of living space, is this. This is what the thick end of £1,000 buys you in London today. And when MPs campaign against more homes, this is what they're campaigning for. This is the reality of the front line of our housing crisis. Nobody starting off their professional life wants to live in a space like this. That's why OnWard under my leadership is focused on the housing crisis. That's why we're setting up the Conservative YIMBY initiative to campaign for centre-right solutions on housing. We're launching on Thursday the 6th of May with a special event with Penny Mordaunt as our guest. You can find the full details of how to join us on the link above.
Okay, centre-right solutions to the housing crisis. Okay, so this is from the people who delivered Right to Buy. Now, Right to Buy per se is not a problem, but the problem that as a consequence of Right to Buy was that the Thatcher administration did not allow councils to replenish the stock of affordable housing, social housing, council housing. What do you think a centre-right solution to all of this would be? Well, what we need to do is we need to get rid of the regulations. That will free up the market and we'll have more houses. No, the problem is there's a lack of housing. You need to build more affordable and social housing, but you also need more regulations. Look at the place he's describing here. If you had higher regulations, said well, you need to have a minimum amount of space, what would happen is these type of landlords would get out of the business. They would sell up their stock because they wouldn't be able to follow the regulations. You need to have regulations and you need to have them enforced. They have to be strong, enforced regulations. Higher taxes on capital gains, for example. Why is capital gains not linked, not par with income tax? If you did that, then you would see fewer landlords in the industry. They would get out of it because they would see it's no longer profitable. And what would happen to that stock? It would be available for councils to buy. Then you also need councils to have more money, more powers. These are all things that the Tories have worked against over the last number of decades. Not over the last 14 years, over the last number of decades. They were against the idea of increasing affordable and social housing. They wanted the private sector to pick up the slack. And that resulted in the disaster that we see today. So if you really want to fix this problem, you don't look at right-wing solutions or centre-right solutions. You look at workable solutions. They should be apolitical. Okay, we have a housing crisis. There isn't enough housing. How do we deal with that? We build more houses. Okay, what about the types of houses? Well, we need to regulate more to have sufficient livable houses for people to be in, not boxes. We have to change the regulation. We have to increase the taxes. We have to create a disincentive for these types of landlords who stick hundreds of people into a small building just to extract as much profit as possible. That needs to change if you want to deal with the housing crisis. It's not just a case of building more, but building more and having the proper regulations in place. But these are things that the Tories have worked against. Now, I don't know if Simon Clarke has had some sort of road to Damascus conversion, but if he's talking about centre-right solutions, then I think he's already failed, because he's already cutting off possible solutions to this crisis. Is this a bandwagon that some Tories just want to jump on and try and milk in some way? I don't know. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he has had a change of heart. But by already saying we're going to have right-wing solutions or centre-right solutions, I think he's already cut himself off from practical ones.